I'm reminded of a story of a professor in California who conducted an experiment. He carried out this experiment in this large lecture hall full of students, and he had a plank of wood, he had 3 large nails, and he had a glass beaker that had been tempered, meaning it had been strengthened. And the beaker was one of those, remember your chemistry lessons, chemistry classes, where it was narrow at the top, narrow 1 inch diameter, comes down 1 inch, and then it gets wider, at the bottom, maybe 5 inches diameter. Well, he grabbed the beaker by the narrow end, by the neck of the beaker, and he got a nail, and he then started to bang the nail into the plank of wood with the beaker. And it shocked all the students who were present, because they thought that was a very foolish thing to do, because they thought he would have caused himself some serious injury by his hand being cut, and then obviously medics being called in to deal with the mess. But he was successful in banging in the 3 nails into the plank of wood. The thing that also shocked the students was when he got the beaker, and he put it on the table, and he got a very small ball bearing. The size of the ball bearing was smaller than the size of a vegetable pea, the pea. And so he got hold of the ball bearing, he put it to the neck of the beaker, to the opening, and then he dropped the ball bearing inside. It only travelled 5 inches, if that. But when it hit the bottom, the beaker shattered. And it shocked the students because they had witnessed him banging in 3 nails, large nails, into a plank of wood. Surely, 1 small ball bearing, it would be able to withstand that, surely. But it didn't. It shattered. He wanted to prove something to the audience there that morning. He wanted to prove that most things do not break because of external pressures. He wanted to prove that things break because what's on the inside is not sufficient. I think that illustration is pretty relevant for you and I today. I have been guilty. Many others have also been guilty on focusing on things that actually make very little difference to your life. Now, before you shout at me, there's nothing wrong with having a good car. There is nothing wrong with having money. There is nothing wrong with having a good career. There's nothing wrong with looking good. Whatever you want to put in there, I am sure there's nothing wrong with those things. But are they good enough? Are they sufficient to strengthen you on the inside? Are they good enough to sustain you through crises and storms? I have discovered for myself that none of those things do. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with those things. I have a nice car and I enjoy driving my car. Not an issue. I have a home. I love my home. There is nothing wrong with that. I love what I do as a job. But folks, that in itself does not keep and sustain me. It's not the thing that gives me hope. The thing that makes the difference in my life is my personal relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ. It's following him. It's being a follower of Christ that makes the difference. I want to encourage you here today and challenge you here today to start that journey for yourself and to discover the difference that journey can make in your life. I like reading the Bible. In fact, can I just read one small passage to you? Because I really think this is relevant. It says, I've never forgotten the trouble, the utter lostness, the taste of ashes, the poison I swallowed. I remember it all. Oh, how well I remember the feeling of hitting the bottom. But there's one other thing I remember, and remembering, I keep a grip on hope. God's loyal love couldn't have run out. His merciful love couldn't have dried up. They're created new every morning. How great your faithfulness. I'm sticking with God. I say it over and over. He's all I've got left. God proves to be good to the man who patiently waits, to the woman who diligently seeks. It's a good thing to quietly hope for help from God. You'll find that in Lamentations in the Bible. And I like that passage for the following reason. The writer is not writing from a point of intellect, he's writing from a point of experience. He talks about at the very beginning, oh, how I remember hitting bottom, how I've drunk the poison, how I've suffered here and there. But I have hope. That hope is in God. For me, it's the same thing. I have encountered many difficulties and crises. I've had concerns and worries, just like anybody else. I am not immune to any of those things. But the thing that has sustained me in my life has been my relationship with him. I'm reminded of a story of a very distinguished actor and preacher. These two men were invited to some social gathering, and during the evening, the actor was asked to read the 23rd Psalm. As he was reading the 23rd Psalm, people were captivated by his words. He had the ability to make those words come alive, to come off the page. And when he had finished reading the 23rd Psalm, everybody applauded and congratulated him. It's like if you've ever ordered an audio book. Have you ever ordered one of those? Isn't it funny how they make you feel as if you're right in the very heart and centre of the story? How the whole thing becomes like it's so real. They have this ability. Well, that's what he achieved when he read the 23rd Psalm. But this old gospel preacher later on was asked to read the 23rd Psalm. And as he read it, hush filled the whole hall. Silence broke out. In fact, some described how some had tears in their eyes. Not one person clapped. Not one person moved. It was after a few moments when the distinguished actor turned to the person next to him and said, you know what? I knew the 23rd Psalm, but this preacher knows the shepherd. You see, you need to understand there is a big difference between having some sort of knowledge or information, but really experiencing it for yourself. For me, experiencing it has been life-changing. And I choose my words very carefully. It has been life-changing, which is why I get very excited about sharing my faith with other people. I don't Bible bash them. I don't ram it down their throats. But I do want people to know that for me, my faith brings incredible hope, incredible fulfillment, and is an anchor in my life. And I personally believe that you can experience that for yourself if you're prepared to do three things. And I'm going to be really quick on this. Number one, be real. Be yourself. You don't have to try and pretend to be something that you're not. You know, if you have a phone and you don't have caller ID on it, isn't it funny how when we pick it up and we answer, we say hello in our posh voice until we know who it is. When we know it's our friend, all the airs and graces go out the window. We are ourselves. I'm asking you, when you are wanting to communicate with God, be yourself. You know and I know that no relationship can ever develop unless the parties concerned are prepared to be real. God's not going to be shocked by who you are. He knows you already. He's not going to be put off. He loves you already. Just be real. Secondly, be serious. Be earnest. You know, if you pray a prayer, God, I really want to know who you are. You have to be serious. Excuse me. You can't be sort of wishy-washy in it. In fact, the Bible talks about how in Hebrews, that God rewards those who diligently seek him. There has to be something of a seriousness in this. So you need to be real, you need to be serious. But thirdly, I believe that encounter will take place if you are prepared to become a follower. Now, some people kind of go funny regarding this. They think if you're going to be a Christian or be a follower of Christ, you have to start talking the old King James language. You have to wear some funny clothing. You have to wear sandals. You have to grow your hair long. And you have to grow a beard. And that's just for the women. But actually, none of those things are true. It's actually simply acknowledging that your way hasn't worked. And now you're going to go God's way. Now, God's way isn't always easy, but it is the most productive. And it is like, all I can say is, following God's directions has brought purpose into my own life. Folks, I'm here for a reason. Paul in the New Testament often started his letters to the various churches, I, Paul, called of God too. He knew exactly who he was. Folks, I believe you can be on this earth and know exactly why you're here, but that purpose can only come by knowing Christ. Now, I can go on now and keep telling you how good it is to become a Christian. It's like, I'm here at the centre here in Stafford, and we have a cafe here, and the girls know that my favourite food is apple crumble and custard. And they laugh at me every time they serve it to me, because when they call me through, I come bouncing or floating and until I get to the counter, and then I receive the bowl, and it's like I want to embrace it. I know it sounds sad, but I just love apple crumble. And the smell just, And then you get the spoon, you sit down, you get the spoon and you plunge it in the middle of the apple crumble and you start to bring it to your lips. And even before it reaches your lips, you kind of, And then when it reaches the lips and it goes into your mouth, you kind of just sit back in the chair, and you just savor the moment. I can tell you and describe how crumbling the crumble is. I can tell you how sweet the apple is with the cinnamon. I can tell you how creamy the custard is. I could go on and on. But there comes a point where you have to get the bowl for yourself. You have to get the spoon for yourself and taste and see. I'm going to finish with this. In the Psalms, it says this: open your mouth and taste. Open your eyes and see how good God is. Blessed are you who run to him. I have discovered the joy of being a follower of him, of Christ. I have never regretted it. I've never been embarrassed about telling others of the good news of Jesus Christ, because I know the difference he's made in my life, he can do in yours. Can I just pray for you? Let's bow our heads. Lord, I want to thank you that we can all experience this. I want to thank you that you do not treat any of us any differently. You are consistent and you are always faithful. And I also want to thank you again for your unconditional love for every single one of us. And I pray that somehow some of the words that I've used here today will help others to start on this journey for themselves and for them to realize how good you are. So Lord, I pray you help people to be serious and to be real and to become a follower of you. And I pray that they will discover the difference. It won't be just a head knowledge, but it will be something so experiential that Lord will strengthen them on the inside. God, I really pray for those who may fear, who are fearing taking this step because they fear that they're not worthy enough. Maybe they feel as if they've made too many mistakes. There's just no way in a million years that you could ever love them. God, I pray you'll take away that fear. And I pray, the Lord, as they take that step, the joy that comes. God, thank you. In Jesus' name, amen. Thanks for your time. Listen, you may not have agreed with anything that I've said. That's fine. But listen, can I just ask for feedback? Please send us an email. At info@hccstafford.org. I'll repeat that. I can't remember. info@hccstafford.org. We would love to hear from you. You may have a prayer request. We would love to pray with you. And if we can be of help to you in any way, please let us know, or communicate to us through Facebook as well. We are praying for you. Please keep safe. And we're praying God's protection and God's blessing upon you and upon your family. You take care for now. Bye.